Hi, my name is Marissa Goldsmith, and I work at Beacon Fire Consulting. This talk was hatched at 2 in the morning yesterday during a bout of insomnia, so please forgive me if I'm tired or haggard or anything like that. At Beacon Fire, I am a functional consultant, and that means that I wear many, many different hats. I do wireframes, I do requirements gathering, I do QA, I love me some web analytics. But right now, I'm not going to talk to you wearing any of those hats. I'm going to talk to you wearing the hat of a mother, which means that the views expressed here are mine solely and not Beacon Fire Consulting, though they should be. So I have two little girls, one 4 and one 2. My 2-year-old was born 2 months prematurely, and because of that, she will have health problems probably for the rest of her life. So anyway, that's where we're coming from. One day, this February, I read an article in, I think it was the Huffington Post, about Tim Armstrong, the CEO of AOL. He had announced that they were significantly cutting back retirement plans for employees at AOL. And he listed a myriad number of reasons why they were cutting back these retirement plans. And one of them, and this was the quote, I'm summarizing the quote, so it may not actually be the quote. One of them was the quote that 2 distressed babies had caused the company to lose $2 million. So I read that and I said, gosh, what's a distressed baby? And so I actually thought it might have been some sort of Wall Street term that I didn't understand. I looked it up. But as I Googled it and I found out more, he had actually implied that 2 children born to AOL families had caused AOL a loss of $2 million, and because of that and other things, he had to cut retirement benefits. So anyway, sorry again. So this conference is not long enough for me to express how angry I was, how much it hurt. So we can just say I was a little pissed. A day or 2 later, one of the mothers of these said distressed babies wrote a gut-wrenching article in the Huffington Post talking about her experience giving birth at 5.5 months pregnant to a child who needed to spend 7 months in the NICU. And so I raged and I shared this article on Facebook and I shared it on Twitter. I believe my tweet was like a giant FU to Tim Armstrong, and here's something for all the distressed babies everywhere. And my friend, I'm going to read this, quoted back. She lives in Scotland. MJ Goldsmith, for the first and only time, I am glad I was 3,700 miles away from you when you first read that story. Hashtag Marissa goes nuclear. But my rage faded, for a few days. I have a life, I have 2 kids, I have a job, things happen. And then a few days later, a friend got in touch with me. She was working with an organization and wanted to know my opinion, not as a person who works with nonprofits, but my opinion as a mother. What kind of actions might they do, about this piece of news? It's like, well, the professional in me is going to tell you you're 5 days too late. But the mother in me, she said, do you think maybe, is it enough for him to apologize? Or, should we be asking him to resign? And I said, and because Tim Armstrong, I believe, lives in Northern Virginia, I said, if Tim Armstrong ever wants to be able to be in the same room with me and not have me kick him square in the balls, the one thing that he's going to have to do, he's going to donate $2 million to the March of Dimes. His own money, $2 million. That's what I said the action should be. And she said, that's great, and she thought it's a really good idea. She said that the person who's going to craft the message is going to get in touch with me. They want to talk to me, again, as a mother, not as a nonprofit professional. And I was actually pretty excited about that. I felt like, this was something that I could really be a part of. I would be a part of this movement, a part of this education movement. I'd be part of this fundraising movement from the grassroots. But then I never heard anything from this person. And I never heard anything from the organization whose mailing list I'm on. And I never heard anything from any of the organizations. I'm on about half a dozen mailing lists. And at first I was kind of disappointed, but I thought back to a lot of the own conversations I have with nonprofits every day when things like this strike and when things like this happen. So here are some of the things that I suspect in the back of my head were said by these organizations. This is a little bit too controversial. This is off brand. This is off our message. It was a little bit about Obamacare, and that's not really what we talk about. We just sent an e-newsletter yesterday. We can't possibly send another email today. It would bombard them too much. We don't have the time to get the creative together. And my personal favorite will be perceived as exploiting the situation. So I'm telling you, as a mother, as a consumer of nonprofit news, of nonprofit information, please exploit us. We want you to exploit us. In those first few weeks of February, I was literally crying for a leader to talk about this. And it didn't happen. Okay, so he backtracked, he reinstated the retirement plan, which makes me happy, but that wasn't what I cared about. It brought a little bit of information about prenatal care to the forefront of the news, but a lot less so about NICU and post-NICU family support, which I think is really important. In my opinion, the conversation that was had after this scandal was nowhere near enough to the center of the guts of the issue. Nothing was exposed above this little 2-week scandal. So the moral of the story for nonprofits is that when the news strikes and when the gaffes come, you can be thoughtful, you can think about it, don't be hasty, but please be quick because we're waiting for you.